Hello, today we are going to demonstrate our recipe for our Morning Glory muffins. But like we always do before we start in the kitchen, we have to go wash our hands. 1 pump in 20 seconds. So on our recipe, the first thing is we preheat our oven, and I've got that started. We want that to preheat at least 5 minutes ahead, so quite often when you're going to bake your recipe, start that first, and you got that going. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grate an apple. We need to remember to wash that off. We always want to remember to wash our fresh fruits and vegetables off before we cook with them, because especially on this recipe, because we are going to grate it, but we are going to leave the peel on it. So we've got our box grater, and we're just going to grate our apple, kind of turning as we go. Of course, in the center are going to be seeds, so we don't want to get those in there. And our recipe just says 1 whole apple. Being careful to keep our fingers back. And just trying to get as much of our apple off of that core that we can. I've just put a piece of wax paper underneath it so it can catch it, and then that will make it easy when we're ready to put it into the rest of our recipe. So on some of the places I'm seeing some of the seeds, so that should probably be good enough. Peel this off a little bit, and sometimes it gets stuck in the back, so get that out of there too. And then we're just going to set that off to the side for a minute. So now we've got our grated apple. And then the next thing on our recipe, it says to add our flour, our sugar, baking soda, cinnamon, and salt into our recipe. So we need 2 cups of flour. Once again, I've got my 1 cup dry measuring cup. We've got all of them, so this is my 1 cup. Scoop it in full over the bag. And then I got my knife in the back of it, and I can just level it off. So then I can add it into my mixing bowl. Once it's over full, and level it off and dump it in. Next, we need 1 1/4 cup of sugar. So once again, I've got my 1 cup measuring. Just like our flour, I'm going to fill it. Level it out and into our bowl. And now we need 1/4. So I've picked my 1/4 measuring cup, and just like the other ones, measure. And level. And in. Next we need 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So something to be careful and aware of. Baking soda and baking powder, they kind of sound the same, but they do totally different things when we're baking. So whatever your recipe says, you need to make sure that that's the one that you have. In this one, it says baking soda. So this is what we have here. And we need 2 teaspoons. I've got my measuring spoons. So I find my teaspoon. And the nice thing about the box, when it's got that level, you can just scoop it in full inside there, and then just use the box to level it off. So there's 1 and 2. Next, we need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So I've got my cinnamon here. I get a full scoop and just kind of level it off. Cinnamon goes in, 2 teaspoons. And then I need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I've got my salt here. I find my 1/4 teaspoon measuring. And then am I gonna measure it over my bowl? No, I wanna measure it over here in case sometimes it spills over, because then you have too much that goes in there. And once again, you can fill that over a little bit and level it off if you like, and dump that into my measuring bowl then. So now it says I need to mix these all together, and you wanna make sure when you do have your dry ingredients that you do get those all mixed and incorporated in together. If maybe you didn't, maybe you would have a big lump of flour or baking soda that ends up in your product. So it is important to get those dry ingredients mixed together before you add your wet ingredients into it. There we go. Next thing we need is 2 cups of shredded carrots. So we have purchased our shredded carrots ahead of time. They're already shredded. I've got my scissors. I can cut this bag off. Actually, it has a little rip thing. I can try to do that. It just rips off. And since I need 2 cups, scoop it in there. Shake it off to make it level. And I'm supposed to put those in a separate bowl, not into my dry ingredients yet. Wait, hold on. Nope, it does say stir the carrots. Yeah, sorry, gotta follow my recipe. Into the dry ingredients. I wanna make sure I follow it correctly because I'm gonna have my wet ingredients that I'm gonna mix separately. So now I've got my 2 cups of shredded carrots and 1/2 cup of unsweetened coconut flakes. So they usually come in a bag. Scissors to cut my bag open. Scoop 1/2 cup. Right in to the rest of my bowl. And then it says to also add our apple that we've already shredded. So I'll set that here. And you can put it on a plate to grate it with some wax paper or a piece of foil, whatever kind you have around. That just kind of makes it easy, and then I can throw it away. So I'm going to stir these in all together. These apples smell really good. Once again, you want to try to get that mixed in together as well as you can. We're going to stir it again some more, but to prevent big clumps of maybe an apple or carrots or something, it's good to spread it out. So now, in a separate bowl, the next thing we're going to do is do our eggs. And once again, you don't want to crack our eggs over the bowl that we're going to mix our other stuff in. So I've got this other bowl here. Crack and peel. And there's one. And then I can put that into the bowl that I'm going to mix. Here's 2. And 3. So like I said, we want to mix it, crack those in a separate bowl in case we get some shells in there. We can get those out much easier. At this point, I need to go wash my hands because I've got raw eggs on them. So now I've got my eggs in the bowl. I need 1 cup of oil. So now I've got my liquid measuring cup, and this holds up to 1 cup. I'm gonna set it down here. And remember, when measuring liquid, you need to get eye level so you can make sure that you've got it on that level of the line, because it'll look different from different heights. So I've got 1 cup of oil. Add that in. And two teaspoons of vanilla extract. So once again, I've got my teaspoon measuring. Here's my vanilla. And just like with eggs, I'm not going to measure over my bowl that I'm mixing. I'm going to measure it over a separate bowl in case some spills over, so then I don't get too much in there. And there's 1. And 2. Now I need to beat these all together. And then now at this point, I want to stir my egg mixture into my dry mixture. Once again, making sure I scrape all the way on the bottom and on the sides, getting all that flour mixture in there. It's getting pretty thick. I'm going to keep mixing until I don't see any more of the white flour. All right. Now we're going to get it into our muffin tins or our cupcake pans. So I've got my cupcake pan, and I put some of the paper liners in there already. I just take these, put those in there. They really help so they don't stick into the pan. And then I'm just going to use 2 teaspoons. Kind of scoop this out and get it into my muffin tins. You can fill them pretty full. But if I go back now and see any that maybe aren't too full, I could put some in. And I heard my oven beep, so it is preheated now to my 350 degrees. I'll come back and finish these. I've got my timer, and our recipe says to bake them for 20 minutes. So I set it for 20 minutes.
Hi, I'm Steph Metcalf with the Johnson County Master Food Extension Volunteer Program, and Denise made a really good breakfast muffin. It was a great way to incorporate vegetables and fruit in a muffin because you had your carrots and then you had a grated apple. So that's a good way to start your day. Now we're going to make a chicken salad, and this chicken salad is going to use chicken that is actually frozen and already grilled and cooked, but you can use like a rotisserie chicken or canned chicken to make this recipe if you want. So I'm going to start by opening my bag of chicken. And the recipe says to use a whole bag, but I'm gonna try just maybe using a half a bag because there's quite a bit of chicken in here, and we'll see how that works. It is something that I can always add more chicken as we go, but we'll start with a half and see what happens. All right, and I think these pieces may be small enough that I don't have to cut them again. But if you were to get like chicken strips or something like that, make sure that you cut it into more of a bite-sized piece. So that looks like about a half. And let's see here, I have to refer to my recipe here on my phone, just one moment. Okay, so I have that. Now it says a can of diced Italian tomatoes. So I've already opened my can. And I have my strainer here. So in this case, when I'm straining the tomatoes, that just means I'm pouring the excess liquid off of it so that it doesn't make the salad as soupy, because we are going to make a dressing for that. Here, and put this in my chicken. And then it says that I need to do some onions. I'm going to use frozen onions today, but you can use regular onions. If that was the case, you would have to dice them up. And since I'm using frozen onions, I've added an extra step for myself. Now I'll have to rinse them and kind of get any excess liquid off of them since they're frozen. They may have little ice things on it. And it's okay, I'm gonna use my same strainer because everything's going in the same recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and just rinse these onions and make sure they're drained really well. And shake out any excess liquid. And again, so I'm not dripping on making a mess on the floor, I'm going to put a paper towel under this. I'm getting as much liquid as I can out of there before I dump them. Ooh, they're cold. Okay, I'm gonna put those in there. And then it says that I need 1 tablespoon of dried basil. So I've got my basil here, and I'm gonna find my tablespoon on the measuring spoons, and I'm going to pour in over a different bowl so I don't spill any excess, and kind of level it off. And I'm going to take that and pour it in. And then it says I need a can of 16-ounce white beans. Now on canned beans especially, you want to kind of rinse them, and that helps reduce any of the excess salt that might be in it. Got all that in there together, and now let's see what it says I need to do. Okay, I can leave those here, and now I'm going to start working on my dressing. So it says I need 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. So I have my red wine vinegar here. And as Denise showed us, when we're using liquid measuring cups, we have to get it down to eye level to make sure that it is the amount that we need. So I'm gonna pour this. And I've got 1/4. So I'm done with that. And then it says I need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So I'm going to grab my tablespoons and I'm going to pour. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. Instead of dirtying another bowl, I'm going to make this dressing right in the measuring cup. Because I've read my recipe, so I already know that it's probably not necessary to dirty a whole huge bowl for this. Sometimes when you're making dressings, it's easier just to mix everything in one little container. It's easier to stir it. And this is still clear so you guys can see through it so you'll know what I'm adding. Now it says I need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm gonna shake this up because sometimes when you use lemon juice it settles. Sediment can settle to the bottom. I'm gonna pick up my tablespoon here again. And I'm going to pour 1 tablespoon in there. And then it says 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. So I'm going to take the lid off and see if I can get some up to the top here where I can just scoop it instead of try to squeeze it. I don't really like squeezing stuff into a measuring spoon because inevitably I always spill it. So I'm going to try it this way. My teaspoon will fit in there. And I'm going to scrape the sides and kind of shake it level. Pour it in there. That's 1. Let's see if I can scrape another one. Oh yeah, easy. Kind of clean off around the sides a little bit. And there's 2. I know I'm using the olive oil lid for a stopper, so I'll have to be sure and clean that when I'm done. Okay, and then it says that I'm sure I probably need salt and pepper. So I need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I don't have 1/2 teaspoon on here. So what I'm going to do, 2/4 make 1/2. So I'm going to use my 1/4 teaspoon to make my 1/2 teaspoon of salt that I need. So I need 2 of those. Well, there's 1. That's a way to improvise too if you can't find all of the utensils or cups or teaspoons that you need. If you can do the math, you might be able to use another one to kind of help you out. Like I didn't have the 1/2, so I made 2/4. And then it says I need 1/4 of pepper. So I'll grab my little 1/4 again. Level it off. Pour it in. And let's see. Let me see what else I need here. 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Pour that in. And I can set that off to the side. Okay, now I have all of my ingredients and it says to whisk. So I've got my whisk here. And you can see it's mixing everything up really well. Make sure all the ingredients are mixed up. And then it says just to pour over the salad. Now, since we adjusted the chicken, I may not use all of this right away. I'm going to kind of stir it up and see how it looks. Because you can always add to, but you can't usually take away when you're using a dressing. And some people like more dressing than others. And I'm one that kind of backs off of it a little bit. And then I can always add. But this is looking and smelling pretty good the way that it is. So the true test would be to take a bite. But I'm not going to do that here. So I'm going to leave it like this because I see the dressing in the bottom too. So I'm just going to make a judgment that says that this looks pretty good. So as you notice, we started with frozen chicken. But by the time we're done with our recipe, these chicken bites have thawed. And so that's something that you can know if you put your chicken in first if it's frozen. Or like I said, you can use a roasted chicken or canned chicken. Any of it will work. So let's see how Denise's muffins are doing, and then we'll come back with the final product. Go ahead.
Okay, so my timer has gone off, and once again, just because the recipe says to bake them for 20 minutes, we still have to temperature check. We have to check them to make sure that they are done in the middle. The easiest way to do that is to take a toothpick. Being careful. Let's see my rack out a little bit because it is hot. I just want to poke those into the center And if the toothpick comes out clean, they are ready. And so it is. Take those out. And there they go. And they smell wonderful. Don't forget to turn your oven back off.